Your dog is putting a paw on you right now. Maybe it is resting on your knee. Maybe it is pressing into your wrist while you are looking at your phone. Maybe it lands on your arm the second your hand stops moving. It was not a command, it was not random, and it probably was not the simple little trick most people think it is. Your dog simply reached across the space between you, placed part of their body on part of yours, and decided that contact needed to exist there. Most people land on one of three explanations. Your dog wants food, your dog wants attention, or your dog is trying to be dominant. The first two can be true. The third one is usually the least useful answer in the room. But here is the problem. If this were only about getting something, your dog would stop the moment the thing arrived. Food appears, the paw disappears. Petting starts, the paw disappears. You look up, say their name, and the behavior is finished. But that is not what many owners describe. Your dog keeps the paw there. They hold contact while you are already petting them. They rest it on you while nothing is being withheld. Sometimes they do it quietly, without barking, whining, pulling, or trying to move you anywhere. That changes the question. It is no longer just, what does your dog want? It becomes, why does your dog use touch to make sure you are still there? In 2014, researchers from the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences studied 12 female beagles during reunion with a familiar person. The dogs were left in a test room, and then the person returned in one of three ways. In one condition, the person used calm, verbal and physical contact. In another, the person used verbal contact only. In the third, the person ignored the dog. They measured oxytocin and cortisol in the dogs. Oxytocin, if you have not heard the name, is one of the neurochemicals involved in social bonding. Cortisol is one of the body's major stress hormones. The result was not just that the dogs were happy to see the familiar person. The mere return of the person raised oxytocin at first and triggered contact seeking. But sustained oxytocin, and the clearest drop in cortisol afterward, required physical contact. Not just words. Touch. What this actually means is that your dog's body may treat contact with you as a biological event. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. But your hand on their body, and sometimes their paw on yours, can change the state of the nervous system. That is why the paw can feel so deliberate. Your dog is not just asking, "Are you available?" Your dog may be asking, "Can I connect to you through the one channel my body trusts fastest?" But here is where it gets really interesting. Your dog did not evolve with human language. Your dog does not have a sentence for, "Please stay emotionally available while I settle down." Your dog does not have a sentence for, "Your attention just moved away from me, and I am checking whether the bond is still open." So your dog uses what dogs have always had: proximity, eye contact, body orientation, pressure, contact. In 2015, researchers at Asabu University in Japan published a study in Science on 30 dog owner pairs and 11 hand-raised wolf owner pairs. They measured urinary oxytocin before and after a 30-minute interaction. The dogs who gazed longer at their owners showed a rise in oxytocin in the owners. The owners then interacted more with the dogs, and the dogs' oxytocin rose too. Wolves did not show the same human-directed gaze loop. The study became famous because it showed that your dog's eyes can activate a bonding system in you that resembles the system seen in parent-infant attachment. But there is a quieter detail in the same body of work that matters here. Dog-to-owner gaze, owner talking, and owner touching were all measured as parts of the interaction. The strongest effect was the gaze loop, but touch sat right beside it as part of the way the bond is maintained. Your dog does not need to understand your calendar, your inbox, your stress, or the reason your attention vanished into a screen. They only need to understand that when they make a small contact signal, you often come back. You look down, you soften your hand, you say their name, you re-enter the relationship. And that may be the entire point. Here is a question almost nobody thinks to ask. Why a paw? Why not just stare? Why not just nudge? Why not bark? The answer is not that the paw is secretly a human hand. It is not that your dog is trying to shake, negotiate, or control you. The answer is simpler and more ancient. A paw is a low-cost contact signal. It does not require your dog to get up. It does not require them to escalate. It can be soft enough to keep the peace and clear enough to interrupt the distance. In human relationship psychology, researchers sometimes call small attempts at connection bids. A bid can be a question, a touch, a look, or a tiny comment that says, "Notice me here." Your dog is not reading relationship books, but the behavior rhymes. The paw is a bid made without words. It says, "Orient toward me." It says, "Keep me in your social field." It says, "Do not let the invisible door close." In 2013, researchers at the University of Vienna and the Clever Dog Lab published a PLOS-1 study on the secure base effect in domestic dogs. 20 pet dogs completed a problem-solving task under different conditions: owner absent, owner present but silent, and owner present and encouraging. The dogs manipulated the apparatus longer when their owner was present, even when the owner was silent. When the owner was replaced by an unfamiliar human, the same increase did not appear. This is the important part. Your dog did not only need instructions. Your dog needed the right person in the room. That is what a secure base means. It is the presence of a specific attachment figure that makes exploration, persistence, and emotional regulation easier. So when your dog places a paw on you in the ordinary room of an ordinary evening, the behavior may be doing something small but meaningful. It may be turning you from background into secure base again. Not because your dog is helpless, because your dog is social. When did this actually start? Not with your couch, not with your phone, not with the trick your dog learned when they were a puppy. The deeper story is at least 15,000 years old. Dogs became dogs by surviving near humans who could read them, feed them, tolerate them, and eventually love them. The animals most suited for that world were not just the fiercest or the fastest. They were the ones who could make contact without provoking fear. They learned to live in the space around human attention. Too far away, and the bond weakens. Too intense, and the human pushes back. But a soft paw on a knee is exactly in the middle. It is contact without collision. It is asking without demanding. It is closeness with an escape route. That is why the same gesture can mean different things depending on the scene. If your dog paws at you beside the food bowl, the message may be practical. If your dog paws at you near the door, the message may be movement. If your dog paws at you while you are petting them and then relaxes when your hand returns, the message is probably not food or control. It is continuation. Do not stop being with me yet. There is one last thing I need to tell you, and it might be the most important part of this video. A paw on you is not always sweet. Sometimes it is a pressure valve. If the pawing becomes frantic, repetitive, impossible to interrupt, or appears with panting, pacing, trembling, tucked posture, lip licking, or sudden clinginess, the meaning changes. Then your dog may not be making a gentle bid for connection. They may be using contact because their nervous system is having trouble settling on its own. That can happen with separation stress, pain, cognitive changes in older dogs, sudden household changes, noise fear, or learned attention patterns that have become too intense. Here is something that rarely gets mentioned outside veterinary and behavior work, and should. The behavior is not the whole message. The change in the behavior is the message. If your dog has always placed one quiet paw on your leg in the evening, that may simply be part of your shared language. If your dog suddenly begins pawing hard, cannot rest, follows you from room to room, or seems unable to disengage, that deserves attention. Not panic. Attention. Because your dog may be saying, "Something in me feels different, and I'm trying to find you with my body." So the next time your dog reaches out and places a paw on you, do not rush to make it bigger than it is. Do not reduce it to dominance, and do not dismiss it as nothing. Look at the scene. Look at the rest of the body. Look at what happens when you gently return contact. If your dog softens, exhales, settles, or lets the paw become heavy instead of urgent, you may be watching a very old system do what it was designed to do. Your dog found the person who makes the room feel safer. Then they reached out to make sure that person was still connected. If this changed how you see that little paw on your arm, subscribe to this channel and drop a comment below. Does your dog place a paw on you quietly, or do they use it like an alarm button? And if you want to understand why your dog stares at you from across the room, that is where the next story starts.